We are back. Fandalorian Club is live here on this Friday afternoon as we are diving into the latest episode of the Mandalorian title of the Jedi, Chapter 13, Episode 5 of Season 2. And as you know already, it might be the biggest thing to ever happen in the Mandalorian, and we are here to discuss it. We're having a lot of fun doing it. I got the regular crew, the normal two, with Brian and Jacob right there on the right side, and then joining us as well as one of our fellow podcasters here on Apocaflix Movies, our buddy, our partner in crime, Mr. Gio Ramos. Could not have him on this episode, being that it is about the big bad Ahsoka Tano. I'm super pumped. Obviously, we're going to get into some really, really cool things on this episode. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff, not just Ahsoka. There were plenty of reveals inside this episode. And so we're going to get to it all. I know typically we go a little bit of a chronological order, but because there's so many reveals in this episode, we're kind of going to talk about the reveals more so than the actual episode itself, because this episode, a lot could hinder on it here in the near future. A lot of questions were raised and a lot of questions that need answers. And so we're going to get into it. But how's the Fandom Club doing today, guys? How's everybody on this Friday? It's Thanksgiving weekend. How's everyone's Thanksgiving, Friday morning, all that good stuff?
Pretty damn good.
Let's just be honest. The reason we're not going in chronological today is because Jake needs to be able to hop all over to talk about anything and everything at any point due to excitement.
You know what? Fuck you, Brian.
This is a family show. A family.
No, I will say not since maybe Rogue One has my Star Wars spirits been this high. So that's why I'm here today.
That's interesting.
None whatsoever. Don't let it. I'm the real Ahsoka fan. Don't let him.
Oh yeah, you're the real Ahsoka fan. Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is either way, whether we went chronological or not, we're still going to start with Ahsoka.
Exactly.
Either way. So
yeah, look, there's a lot to talk about, and as I mentioned, it's not just Ahsoka. Obviously, she was in the episode more than I think anybody may have realized. Kind of considered the co-lead, right? I mean, she's a pivotal part of the story of this episode. But let's start with the opening scene, because look, we go into this episode and nothing is confirmed at this point of when she's going to show up, if she's going to show up, how much she's going to be in it. And we see this opening title and it pops up and we see the opening scene. We're seeing this like rundown planet. We see like kind of like a military style base with a town. Guards are covering it. We see this woman up top and we see this gunfire. And then all of a sudden, shit goes crazy. And we see this. This is the first thing we see in the episode is a hooded Ahsoka wrecking shop to people trying to come after her. We don't know why at this point, but they put her on display front and center the very beginning of the episode, and they let us know, yes, it happened. It's here. Rosario Dawson is playing this character. She has her Rebels white lightsabers, and in all of her glory, she is kicking ass against these people that we don't know nothing about at this point. But they also make sure to tell us, look, we're staying true to this character by the way that she holds herself, the way that she fights, the way that she runs, the way that she talks. And in that first sequence, it very much feels like Ahsoka Tano, although Ashley Eckstein is not voicing her / playing her. And I don't know about you guys, but I got the feeling right away that they did the best they possibly could to portray this character in live action. And to me, they completely succeeded.
Who wants to go first?
Well, let's not all talk first. Come on, somebody.
Jacob, off.
Okay.
So I agree with you. By the time I got through my second viewing, I loved the look of Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. The first time was very jarring. It was just weird to see Ahsoka in live action. And we got to realize it's never going to look exactly the same as it does in animation. That's just impossible. Every character we've seen come from animation to live action in any property doesn't look exactly the same because it's just live action. So it was a little bit like,
it was pretty freaking close.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, like this is crazy to see Ahsoka in live action. But like 5 minutes in, I'm just like, yep, this feels like Ahsoka. And there's so many canon questions that came to mind that I'm sure we could talk about for hours, but I loved it. You guys know Jedi is my favorite thing in all of Star Wars. Jedis and the Force and lightsabers. So I was very happy with it. And we literally start the episode off with glowing white lightsabers in the forest. So I loved it.
So pumped.
Them lightsabers, man.
Brian, what did you think of this? The whole opening and just the reveal and everything.
Well, it's funny because Jake, right? I said it a couple times to you before we start because we watched it together. I was like, what if she's not even in this episode? Like, what if it's a giant troll or something? And the episode starts off with her and it's like, nope, she's in this episode. And the way she comes in, like coming in and out of the shadows and the only time you saw her was if she had her white lightsabers lit up, and then every time she got rid of them, darkness, and they're just like, oh, she came in like such a badass. So cool. And it's just, yeah, she looked great. I know people are complaining about the Montrals, and it's just like, I honest, huh?
It's a practicality thing.
I honestly, like, this may sound weird, but like, I almost kind of am taking it as like human body parts. Like they're different on different people. Like, not all Montrals are going to be exactly the same, in my opinion. Like, I mean, I get like the length and all that stuff, but like, why did it doesn't need to be exactly the same?
Yeah, and to make sure that what people understand what Brian is saying, when we say Montrals, we're talking about her head tails. Her head tails are called Montrals, and what people most people are talking about is the comparison from this version of her to, like, say the Rebels version, where they're a little bit longer up top, and then they're also longer down here, so they don't look exact. But when we think about it, we've talked about this plenty of times. Things don't need to transfer from animation to live action exactly. And we also have to remember, like, when we talk about someone like Shakti in the prequels, where she had some giant, like, her Montrals were big, like they were big, but she wasn't flipping and running and doing action scenes like Ahsoka is. The practicality of it probably isn't as strong as it would be with the way they did it now. And again, it doesn't look bad. Like, it doesn't, like, here, I'll pop up a picture. So like they don't look bad at all. Like, they don't look bad at all, but from the Rebels version, problem. They're definitely a little shorter.
Especially when we see her at the end of the Rebels finale. But look, I don't know the ins and outs of this, but isn't that similar to hair? Like, it's similar to human hair?
Their version.
Yeah, so
their version,
because they grow, right? Like, from the time we see her as a teenager, and then when we see her as a grown adult at the end of Rebels, they're way longer. So can't you hypothetically cut them? I mean, and then they grow.
I don't know about that. No, I don't think
you can get surgery, and I don't know.
I think cutting Montrals would be cutting like a dog's tail or something like that. Wouldn't be.
Yeah,
we don't know.
But
though.
Like, for me, it wasn't that big of a deal. Yes, Chuck Sean was very picky about it last night, but I mean, everyone's going to have their own opinion. But for me, it wasn't an issue. And something that I feel to me was made very clear, she definitely either studied heavily Ashley Eckstein, like how she portrays that character, her voice, how she talks, or they work together very closely, because there were points where the very first time she spoke, I went, was that a voiceover? The very first line. And I was like, no, that's not her. But if it was enough to give me a question. So I don't think that my fear was always that she was going to kind of make Ahsoka just a little bit her own. And it wasn't. It was very true to the character we knew. So I appreciated that probably more than any aspect.
Gio, what about you, man?
Yeah, I didn't care much about the Montrals because I was just blown away by what I was watching. I mean, for myself, I don't think I've seen a Jedi move with so much, so tactical, and her moves and fighting style. I mean, it's just talk about a opening entrance, making your live action debut. And every time I heard the lightsabers, for me, the lightsabers is such a sweet, beautiful sound. It gives you like borderline orgasm every time. But the fact that she had two, and just like every time she would turn them off, she'd be moving, and like I said, so tactical. And I can't remember the last time I've seen that in a live action as far as Jedis go. In the prequels, Anakin and Obi-Wan, they kind of just, found themselves in a situation and, improvised, and the sequel trilogy, it was, I don't know what that was. But in this one, man, you talk about making a grand entrance. Like, I was really impressed.
The fact that the sound in the TV show is exactly this sound is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's sounds identical to what the television show just showed.
When she's about to fight and it's just silent, but the sabers, it sounds just like that.
It's identical. It's scary how similar the sounds are. Yeah, and
her blades look so good.
Yes, the VFX on the blades are incredible. The sound of it, the way that they move, the way they sound, everything like that.
Jake hasn't chilled from one where she goes like this.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk about
from
that
behind,
because I do have a picture of that. But so obviously they started off the episode great. Ahsoka kicked ass. But she wasn't just in that part of the episode, or she wasn't just a small part of it. She was in a big part of this episode. And, obviously we knew at this point that Mando had been sent by Bo-Katan to find her. And we didn't know in what capacity it was going to be in, as far as like, maybe was she going to be chilling at some cafe, or was she going to be doing something? And she's full on, you know what I mean? She's full on.
It's funny to think of her just chilling
like for herself. She's full on a mission for herself, and she's trying to do something for the greater good. We don't exactly know. She's obviously trying to find information, but at the same time, she's also trying to free people who have been locked up. And this puts them on a collision course, and we get that great moment when Mando finally finds her. And we learn all of these interesting details. Obviously, there's some stuff in between, and we'll get to that here soon. But the next biggest part of this is when they meet for the first time, and we get this really, really cool, quick action scene from the two of them that had some really cool moments in it. Mando's obviously sent by the magistrate to kill her, but he has his own idea about it as far as why he's doing it, and he doesn't want to kill her, but he has questions for the child. And we get some really cool moments here, and this is one of the biggest one, is we get confirmation that Pierre Beskar can in fact block lightsabers, which is amazing. Crazy movement. I mean, the fact that Din even attempted to do that, like he could think that was possible, is crazy as well. And then
do you think you think that? I just think he was just putting it up as just like crap, and then realized
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like his first instinct was to do that, but him thinking that like it was even possible that those could block that.
See, I didn't think it that way. I just thought it was more like
Yeah, it might have been because if you notice before that shot actually happened, he actually does block one with one arm. So it had actually happened right before that. And then we get a really good look at her for the first time without the hood on, with the sabers. You can see that those are the rebel sabers. One is shorter than the other. You see the montrals, you see the color of the skin, you see everything as far as Ahsoka. And they get a cool image here too, where he yells Ahsoka Tano, and she realizes that he's actually there for something else. And then we'll get to this. This is the next big thing that happened in this episode. No longer Baby Yoda, no longer the child, but he officially has a name. Grogu. Grogu is his name. I know some people are debating it online, but I gotta say, I'm okay with the name. I am okay with the name. I think the name fits. It's adorable enough. but it also fits because the backstory they gave him, and I'm not going to say whether or not I like the backstory. I'll save that for here in a little bit. But the name, I think, does fit. It was just interesting how they revealed the name. I'll say that.
Are you
Grogu,
upset about how they revealed the name?
No, it was just so quick. It was like when in The Force Awakens where Snoke goes, "Oh yeah, you're the son of Han Solo." It was just like, "Oh yeah, over and over."
I like that though. They don't make a big deal about it. It's just this is his name, and at first it does hit you really quickly, and you're like, "Whoa, wait a minute! Now we know his name," and you're like, "Whoa!" And you need time. They move on before you have time to process it. But once Din started calling him it, and then he looked up at him.
It's the dog head tilt.
Loved that.
It's the dog head tilt. Huh?
But the noise he made too.
Like the name. That just that alone made me like the name. And now that the Mandalorian can call him by his name when he's yelling at him, I love that.
I still think he's going to call him Kid.
So do
Yeah,
I.
I was gonna say,
Probably, but he'll use his
probably
name
stick.
when he's not listening. He'll say Grogu.
Yeah.
But overall, I like the name. It feels Star Warsy, and it's like
It doesn't start with a Y.
It's a cute name that fits with the cute baby. So,
Well, is he a baby with the backstory they gave him? That's
well, we know
questionable.
he's 50, so
Yeah.
for
Gio,
his
what do
race,
you
he's
think?
still a child.
Yeah.
Or for his species, yeah.
I thought his backstory made complete sense, because he's a Force user. That was one of the big reveals in season 1. But how did he learn that? How did he learn how to harness that? And I'm more curious who took him from the Jedi Temple,
It's a big
either
question.
right before or
That's a
during
big
Order
question.
66. What?
That's a big question.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think
I've seen some.
Jake
theories
had a
out
guess
there.
last night, and it was
Somewhat?
pretty good. Jake had a guess last night that was pretty good.
Who, Kanan?
No,
Oh.
that's who I thought at first, but he said Jocasta knew, the librarian.
I'm
that would make
curious if because somebody
She's
said
still alive at
in-
this point, by the way.
Somewhat.
Mm,
Isn't she?
no, the comic books.
Well, Vader kills
Oh,
her.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Sorry. My bad.
I
After
don't
New
know
Hope.
when that was, though. I don't know when
That was after A New Hope.
yeah. So
Yes.
I mean, she could have gotten him out,
Yes.
but she's not around right now.
She's the only one inside that temple that we know that a handful made it out, but we don't know the exact names of who made it out. We know for a fact that she made it out and she was at the temple, and it would make sense that she is the one to grab him.
Yeah, and I mean, they could also just make up a new character for all we know.
That's
Like,
very true. That's very
It could literally have just been someone grabbed him, took him out, and was killed.
And voila, you have a
Solid,
new
yeah.
or you have a new character. Who knows?
Yeah. Or Jake.
But-
It could have even been Cal Kestis for all we know.
That'd be interesting. Holy
That would.
Jesus, that'd be interesting.
I just
Right?
thought that how Ahsoka said he hid his powers because he was afraid of using them. I wonder if he maybe witnessed, because he's a youngling as well. Did he witness Anakin slaughtering younglings?
So-
That made him scared.
So he is now the lone survivor of Anakin's youngling purge.
Really?
Because they had said, Ahsoka had said in that whole thing that he was a youngling at the temple. He was training at the temple. He had trained with multiple masters. It'd be interesting, in fact, if Yoda wasn't one of those masters. But so and we don't obviously and we got to think when Clone Wars. Let's see, Revenge of the Sith. There's 20 years between Revenge of the Sith and the original trilogy. There's about 8 to 10 years where the original trilogy takes place, or 5 to 8 years when the original trilogy takes place. There's 25 years plus another 5 for the Mandalorian. So there's 30-year gap of when the Revenge of the Sith stuff happened and now Mando is happening. So Baby Yoda would have been 20 at that time, around 20 years old at that time. And just imagine how immature, for lack of a better term, he would have been then training. He would have 100% been a very, very, very small youngling training with someone. We just don't know who.
Well, to
or
that
where.
point, he's been hiding his powers for a long time then.
More than he's been alive.
Well,
Sorry, more than he's been on his own is what I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And she said he suppressed it to a point where he doesn't remember things.
Yes.
So that, I mean, it's very much in essence of Last Jedi, where Luke just shuts it off and is somewhat apprehensive to use them again. And I mean, I'm not against the backstory. I think it's kind of cool. I'm fine with it. The thing that is I'm struggling with right now is like, I feel like he's like an imposter kind of, where it's like he's this like older man pretending to be a child kind of.
I don't think he remembers who he is.
No, I know, but like it's I think I just need like another episode to just kind of like get over it. Not get over it, but just kind of digest it maybe. It's just like, because there's certain things I'm like he does where it's like he's very much a baby. And then there's certain things where it's like, okay, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's kind of like, it's almost like he's older. Like communicate. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm still, that's probably the thing I'm still kind of like trying to digest the most out of this whole thing.
That's why I'm not a fan of the backstory.
Well, honestly, though, nothing's changed, though. He's still 50 years old. He's still a baby for his species. So
no, I know.
That hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is that he got training several decades ago from Jedis, and he's been hiding his powers for decades. So it makes sense that he's like, I don't think his like how far along he is as a Force user has to do with his age as just a regular being.
Yeah, I get it. It's just, I think it's something that I haven't like gotten used to yet. And I'm not opposed to it. It's just like, okay, that changes a few things that I've seen.
I was originally on board with the backstory. Like, I thought it was really cool because it was unexpected. I was not expecting to learn it this early. I thought it was going to be revealed in a different way. But then when I think about it, kind of going to Brian's point, to this entire point of this series, unless they do something like he forgets who he is and, you know, he goes back to this kind of state of mind, Grogu this entire time has felt like an infant, right? He has felt like an infant who can, you know, who barely walks around. He gets carried. He has a crib. You know, he gets fed, like all of these type of things. And when I think of that training in the Jedi Temple, it doesn't match. Like, it doesn't like match for me. I don't know why, but it just doesn't. And it also, I don't know. It just, I guess it may also be the fact that like we're going back to something that we already know. Like, and the show has done such a good job at this point of separating itself. I don't want more connection between people that we know and characters we know and things that we already know in the universe. And that might be playing a huge factor in my thought process on this. I don't know.
Kind of reminds me of Rey and her, you know, story of whether she was trained or not, you know, and you see moments of her true power, you know, and it just, the way you guys are talking about it just reminds me of Rey.
Yeah, so the thing to me is that the child, you know, his species ages differently. We've known this for ever since the show started. So no matter what, he's still gonna act like a baby. I don't think he's faking it. But I think him being trained as like as a Force user is separate from that. Is separate from his aging as whatever their species is called. And I like the backstory, because if you think about it, it's really the only thing that makes sense. If he was like 20 years old during the prequel era, unless he was hidden, where would he be? They would send all Force users to train with the Jedi, because they would separate them from their family so they wouldn't gain attachments. So if he was alive during the prequel era, that's where he would end up. So to me, it makes sense.
I just want to know if he had a little teeny tiny lightsaber.
That's what I was wondering too.
Like, does his lightsaber look like a Lego lightsaber? Like, is it just like a little teeny tiny thing?
Well, Yoda had a lightsaber.
I see, and that's where I'm kind of like, the whole backstory gets to me. I'm like, how far is his training? Like I feel like he's probably, in order to keep the innocence, he had to have been like bare minimum beginning of training, because he is doing things. I mean, force push and pull is pretty much, well, and death grip, I guess. But is kind of like
the final episode last year where he blew up the stormtrooper. Like, that's a big thing.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, that, I mean, that was push. He threw the fire back at him.
But that, I mean, that
takes a lot.
I know,
yeah.
but so like for me, I'm assuming, and to me it'd be kind of ridiculous that he is only like, he's not trained in lightsaber combat, or like you know how we see in Attack of the Clones where they're practicing like this. Like, he's not at that point yet, because
Maybe not.
well, and yeah,
he barely even walks on his own.
That's what I'm saying. And remember, in Clone Wars, if we go back to Clone Wars, the kids who went to go build their own lightsabers, they were a little older. They were a little older. We also have to. The thing I'm interested in, we do have to keep this in mind, is whenever they do reveal, or if they do reveal how they age, what it is compared to us. Like, how old is 50 years of them compared to us? Because that's going to be a big deal. Like,
I'm starting to think it's like 5 years old.
Well, I'm saying, like, is 1 year of that species like 50 years of us?
Well, how old was Yoda when he died?
Yoda was 900 years old.
Okay.
So I look at it as 900 is 90. That's how I look at it.
So every 10
Yoda
years
was like
a year
old man.
So every 10 years is a year old, which would mean he's 5.
Yeah, that's what I would say, to be honest. And that would make sense. They start training that young.
So he would have been 2 years old when the genocide happened, essentially?
Possibly.
I mean, it makes sense because he would be a little baby. Like,
and that means he hasn't started lightsaber training yet, because even those kids using the lightsabers were like 5, right?
Yeah.
I think they're probably even a little older, like 7, 8.
Yeah.
I feel like 12 is like the number you get your saber at, right? I feel like that's a good round number.
But like, we're on agreement that like he wasn't training with a lightsaber.
I don't think so. Right? I don't think so.
I don't know, man. He might have got one in a cereal box. little teeny tiny thing.
His would be even smaller than Yoda's when he fought Dooku, and just like
but okay, let's get to the next part of this conversation, and this does happen a little bit later on, but it's similar to what we're talking about because it has to do with Grogu. It has to go with Grogu, Mando, and Ahsoka when she tells him where he must take him, excuse me, which is a big deal, which is a huge deal. She essentially says, I can't train him. Not only has he formed an attachment with you, but I have seen what attachments to someone have done to other Jedis, to great Jedis, and greatly talking about Anakin, specifically talking about Anakin. Mm-hmm. That's who she's mentioning. And she tells him, take him to this ancient Jedi temple, put him on a mountaintop, and let him decide for himself. I know that I'm not, it's not verbatim for what she says, but that is the paraphrasing of exactly what she says. And this could mean a lot of things, because we know at this point that, like Ahsoka said, he's suppressing his powers. He doesn't really know who he is at this point. He's still learning, and that he has formed an attachment with Mando, meaning that if Ahsoka took him, it probably wouldn't end up good. And she's being that adult Ahsoka that we know from Rebels and everything like that. And Din obviously doesn't know to be like, well, no, that's not what it's supposed to be. He's all new to all this Force stuff. But what do you guys think about the whole reveal of taking him to an ancient Jedi temple, putting him on a mountaintop, letting him decide for himself, and hopefully a Jedi finds him or he reaches out to a Jedi? That's the key there, because we could end up seeing another Jedi come up in the series who ends up training Grogu or coming to find Grogu if they do reach that point. Gio, I'll start with you.
I mean, it could go either way, honestly. Do we want to be rotating Jedis into this series? I don't think that they'll go that route. I mean, a popular name I've heard is Ezra.
It's the only one I will accept.
I'll be pissed if it's Luke.
Yeah.
There's
pissed.
no way.
I'll be pissed.
He would probably. That would mean he probably would be dead if it was Luke.
I don't know. I mean,
That would mean that he's with Luke at the Jedi Temple when Ben Solo slaughtered them all. So he would be dead if Luke took him.
that's a good point. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know what to think. It's really a toss up in the air, you know. I mean, he seems to only use his powers when things are like
so weird.
Oh, Mace Windu.
All right, I was reading the comment.
Yeah.
This one. Can you imagine just like him like no hand coming in like I got this.
I'll quit.
Did he survive?
No. Just everyone needs to go away from that theory, man. He's dead. He's gone. Leave him alone.
Someone said this. Who said it last night? And you immediately were like, no.
Just stop it. Just stop it already, everybody. Star Wars fan and Mace Windu has died. Leave it alone. Sorry, Gio. Go ahead.
No, it's really a toss up. I don't know. I'm not convinced that he wants to go down that path because the only time he's ever used his powers are, when like they're about to die, and what he's already witnessed in the Jedi Temple, with the killings and whatnot, so, and then the one Jedi he does meet doesn't even want to train him. So does he really want to go down that path? Right now, I would say no, but who knows? Maybe something happens to the Mandalorian and he decides to, go down this path and be a protector. So remains to be seen.
Jacob, would you be okay if that, whether it's the final few episodes of the season or something next season, that we get to this mountaintop, right? He reaches out, he feels something in the Force, he chooses his path, and then sometime down the line, we find out that Ezra Bridger has found him, has felt him, and Grogu goes off with Ezra Bridger. And it's not a part of this series. It's something else.
Well, yes, I would be okay with that. That is probably the best option because if you look at everything that's been set up so far, and I don't think they'll bring in Ahsoka, especially because we haven't seen her in live action. They'll reference the prequels, but they're not going to bring in Luke. Like, it's just, that's too familiar. I think that's too familiar. So, well, if you guys look at the pieces of the puzzle, and I don't want to jump ahead, but the person who Ahsoka mentions at the end of the episode, Ahsoka's here. She was looking for Ezra last time we saw her. It all makes sense. If Thrawn's around, Ezra must be around somewhere. So to me, that makes sense. But I think what's going to happen is, if you guys remember the episode of Rebels when Ezra goes to a temple and he reaches out and he talks to Yoda.
Yeah, and that's in season 2.
But not in person, though. It's like a force call or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. I think Grogu's going to experience something like that. He's going to go to this place. He's going to reach out. I'm not saying it's going to be Yoda, but maybe somebody reaches out to him through the Force somehow and says, you have to make a decision, Grogu. Do you want to, go down the Jedi way or do you not? And Grogu has to decide. And then once he makes his decision, now the Mandalorian has to go find Ezra somewhere or go find another Jedi for him to train. But I kind of wanted him to stay with Ahsoka, but I don't think that's what's going to happen now. I think that story's done. So, yeah, I think Ezra makes the most sense because either that or you bring in a brand new Jedi or you bring in somebody way too familiar. So
I have something interesting, and Brian and I talked about this last night. Because Ahsoka seemed a little aggressive, right? From what we've known. She seemed like she was a little desperate, if you will.
She killed a lot of fools.
Yeah, she seemed a little desperate, to find out this information. Is there any chance in the world that she told Din this to lure Ezra out?
Possibly.
And essentially use them as bait to get to him because she can't find him?
Very possible.
Oof, man. like I say, tactical.
Because again, look, it's been 5 years since we last saw her in Rebels, right? That 5 year span, we don't know what happened, but where is Sabine? Where is Ezra? Did they find Ezra? Did they find Thrawn? It seems like, from what we got in this episode at the end, that they may have found them, and then Thrawn may have slipped through their fingers at some point. That's kind of the vibe I got. But it could be possible that maybe they never actually found them, and that Ahsoka just found out that this magistrate is just working for Thrawn.
Yeah, well, she knows that Thrawn is alive.
Yeah.
How does she know that?
Exactly.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I still kind of think that they haven't been found at this point. Like, I personally, I don't think Ezra is going to come and talk to or even see Grogu. The boat I am on right now is that Grogu's not going to even do it. Honestly, I'm sitting on the boat thinking that he's going to be like, no, I don't want to leave Din. He's my ride or die at this point, and
they have an attachment.
Yeah, and because Ahsoka kept saying over and over, you're like a father to him. He looks at you like a father, like that type of stuff. I just don't think that and everyone's that's saying like Ezra is going to show up. That, to me, that's saying Ezra's in hiding. Why would he be hiding from Ahsoka and Sabine and everyone else? But Thrawn is out and about doing his stuff.
Well, I think she's looking for Thrawn to find Ezra. I think maybe she's heard that Thrawn's still alive, and she hasn't heard anything about Ezra.
Well, and I threw out this idea last night. Like, what if they found them and then Thrawn got away and essentially is holding Ezra prisoner somewhere?
Something like that. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like if you're going to bring Thrawn in, Ezra is attached to him at this point. Being a Rebels fan, I don't think you can bring one in without.
Oh yeah, it's all connected. I honestly think this was Dave Filoni setting up his spin-off series.
It was a backdoor pilot. It was a backdoor.
Really
100%.
Backdoor pilot.
Hold on,
Thrawn is
Brian.
going to be the big bad of that series with Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine.
Brian, did you lose your crap when Thrawn was name dropped?
Just like
Jake
clearly
you can
haven't
watch
watched
it
our
live
video
on camera. You can watch it on camera.
I didn't even know you guys did a video.
Yeah, we put it. I jumped off the screen and started jumping
because we weren't expecting that. We were expecting Ahsoka. We weren't expecting Thrawn to be name dropped this early.
There's the moment where she says it. That's the moment.
Yeah, I jumped off out of my seat and
best
started
Star
jumping.
Spear and lightsaber fight, amazing.
Yeah, that episode was very classic samurai type movie.
Yep.
Like everything about that, like from the town to the way they fought to the setting, like the way they dressed, everything was very samurai-esque, a very different type of pace that we've seen from this Western. It kind of shifted to samurai, while still keeping this Western aspect. I mean, they did have a shootout, literally. But like every time, the second time I watched it, even more, I was like, oh dang, that was very much old samurai type, like everything about it. But yeah, it's funny because I was talking to Sean after Jake, and I was like, Jake's been worrying, like, oh my God, Ahsoka's my favorite. Like, please don't mess her up. Like, what if they mess her up? Blah, blah, blah. You finally have your piece. And now that went to me. And now I'm feeling that with Thrawn. Because his name is now, he is now like
they're not going to mess
somewhere.
They're not going to.
So Jake, are you like 100% satisfied with Ahsoka's live action debut?
100% satisfied. I think it was brilliant. I think Rosario Dawson was absolutely the perfect choice to play this character.
And she was a fan cast.
I think it was absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
She has been lobbying for this role for years. She has been wanting it over social media, and it's been clear.
It's just crazy. She looks like Ahsoka. So
yes,
it's perfect.
and the way, and I'll throw these up, but the way that
Jake loves his images.
Her color, the color of her skin is so close to what we see in animation.
It's perfect.
The marks on her face are just they're perfectly shaped. The way that she uses her voice as Ahsoka, the way that she moves, the way that she does in combat.
It's so crazy that her age lines up perfectly.
It's insane.
How old Ahsoka is.
The one thing that I will say that we didn't get in this episode was the way that she holds her sabers.
Okay, the very first fight she did. When I went back and watched it, I was like,
"It's very."
I know you want it backwards the whole time.
I don't want it the whole time, but she fights a certain way.
Well, and in the end fight, she does it too. When she only has one, she does it around.
And she does the one, but I'm more so talking about when she does her stance.
Yeah,
she typically doesn't do. She doesn't stand with the sabers this way. She stands like this, and the sabers are coming behind her.
Well, I mean, that's Dave Filoni should know that,
Well, I'm sure there's a reason for it. I'm sure there's a reason for it, and I'm sure we're gonna get it one day. And again, this is just me being nitpicky about it because I'm such a big Ahsoka fan. I think that this character has deserved this shot for a very, very long time. And it is well, like it was done so brilliantly. It could not have done any better. They did it right by throwing her into the very first sequence. That's the only way it could have happened. And showing us that, look, we know you guys are scared about bringing this character to screen. Here you go. Here's your proof it's going to work.
Oh, yeah. I think it worked for sure.
Yeah, because
the action was incredible.
The rest of the episode, we didn't see fights like that, right? We saw her doing acrobatic stuff on the roofs and stuff, but the very first sequence is when we really got to see her fight like she typically does. And that's when it's essentially like saying, here's your proof, mic drop, enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah. I love her flex.
Yeah, how they made it even look like the animated where it just kind of she almost like disappears in a way.
Well, especially when Mando wrapped her up and then she flipped over the tree and brought him up, it was so cool.
So if you look at that scene right before she flips, she smiles.
Oh yeah, because she knows she's not.
He knows she's about
to me. That is the most Anakin trained thing where it's like, I got you, and Anakin's like, yeah, okay, and then does some wildish, outlandish, and she even smiles like Anakin kind of does with that little grin. I was like,
it's all a game to her. It's all a game to her. She enjoys it so much, just like Anakin did.
Yeah, so it was funny because like that subtle. To me, that was a subtle nod that you just kind of see like her training as Anakin's Padawan, her doing like this. You literally have the sabers chilling in San Diego waiting for you. But yeah, I loved this episode. It was just so fulfilling. But
okay, so there's some big things that we have to talk about. Does anybody else have anything else to bring up about?
Well, I wanted to ask Gio a question real quick.
Yeah.
Gio, you're maybe like the most casual Ahsoka fan out of us four. Like you didn't watch Rebels as like closely as we did. So as like a casual Ahsoka fan, did this increase your fandom of her? Like, does it make you like her more?
Yeah, like I literally have no complaints about what I saw. I love the fact that they keep creating these things that can make the lightsaber less powerful. Whether it's that metal or whatever that Stormtrooper had in The Force Awakens.
Okay.
It just makes it more interesting.
Because you normally with a lightsaber, you could defeat anything, right?
Well, and I think real quick, I'll butt in just real quick. I think that the reason why that happened this episode is because I think they're telling us that Moff Gideon's troopers are made out of
100%.
That his troopers are going to be made out of Beskar.
100%. I mean,
we know that. We know that.
It was stamped with the emblem.
I'm just saying for casual fans, I think the reason why they did that is to be like, okay, Din's armor can withstand a lightsaber, who's been holding all the Beskar this entire time? Moff Gideon. Boom.
Okay, here's one. I had another thing, but since we have Gideon up as the topic, do you think Gideon is working for Thrawn or
No.
on his own?
On his own.
I agree with you,
his own.
Jake.
Yeah,
On his
on
own.
his own.
Okay,
You're
cool.
correct.
I think everything in this episode with Ahsoka and Thrawn was completely, blatantly a backdoor pilot for something else.
100%.
Thrawn
And
is not working with the Empire anymore. Now that the Empire is gone, he has his
I
own
think he's on his
plans.
own. I 100%
Yeah.
think he's on his own.
I know that listening and talking to Molly and Alex, that was their fear, was like, oh great, that kind of diminishes Gideon's like fearsomeness if he's a grunt to someone. I don't think he is in the slightest. I never once thought of that, even until people said like, oh, he's working for Thrawn, and I was like, I don't think so. Like, because he's clearly doing his own stuff. Also, it was pointed out to me that the HK units, the robots, have on 7th Fleet symbol on their heads. If you go back and look, but I don't think. I literally think I completely agree with Jake. Anything and everything that was related to Rebels is a backdoor pilot, has nothing to do with this. Maybe Ezra pops up for like a second or something, but that's like at most. I don't think we'll see Thrawn in this. I don't think we'll see. Personally, I don't think we're going to see Ezra. Sabine maybe because she's a Mandalorian, but like I don't think all of a sudden this show is going to be a Rebels mosh pot. So that's my opinion. Anyway, can I throw out my other thing?
Well, I wanted to let Gio finish because I kind of cut him off.
Oh, sorry. Go, Gio.
Kind of don't remember what I was gonna say.
Well, I asked you if this made you a bigger fan of Ahsoka or not.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. I mean, I tweeted it yesterday. Like, Ahsoka might be the coolest Jedi, either live action or animated. And man, Dave Filoni,
Oh, here we go.
care about characters. You do them really well. Obviously, he cares about Star Wars. I would love to see him work with Hayden Christensen and do something with Anakin, because I think he could,
A flashback.
yeah. So
You know what? Gio, that you make a great point, because we obviously know that the Obi-Wan series is coming, and we expect that series to possibly show flashbacks of the Clone Wars. What if Deborah Chow goes, you know what, Dave? You told this story in animation. Why don't you come direct these episodes? And he directs Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor in Clone Wars flashbacks.
just
That would be interesting.
Just imagine the possibilities, man. Just bring it.
All right, Brian. Let's hear what you got. I know you got something you're saying.
Yeah. So I kind of, the one thing that every time I kind of hear, I instantly go, that might be important, is whenever they name drop a planet. And this Tython planet
Yep.
that Ahsoka told is clearly more important than what is being talked about, because it has a lot of connections to legends. I'm no expert in this planet, but I'm seeing stuff like this has connection to Darth Bane. It's pretty important. Not to mention, this isn't the first time that we have seen it name dropped in canon. It appeared in Afra's comics.
Yep. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, nice.
Here, Jake, if you know more, go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't know a ton of it. All I know is that it's in the deep core. It's a core planet, and so it's not an outer rim planet or anything like that. It's something that's very central to where the Star Wars galaxy is. And like Brian said, it did pop up in Dr. Aphra. It's much more of a planet that was used in Legends, older stories that aren't canon anymore. But like many,
I'll add it. Darth Bane Rule of Two is where this planet.
So
in Legend,
much like a lot of stuff in Star Wars when Disney bought the franchise, they had almost everything in Star Wars had like these backstories and this history from Legends, right? Everything was connected through stories and comics and books and stuff like that. But when Disney bought Star Wars, they said everything from this point is canon, everything before it is not. And so that wiped the slate clean for almost everything that was told in Legends. And so when it dropped in the Dr. Aphra comic, that was really the first appearance we had of it in canon. All of what we're going to be seeing is going to be a fresh start for the planet. And so we don't know if it's going to be connected to Darth Bane. We don't know what kind of connection it's going to have. But we know for a fact that the planet was abandoned when the Jedi Order collapsed. That was the one thing, because there is a temple.
Is there a temple there?
Okay, there is a temple there. Okay. So,
but it's the Jedi.
Yes, it's a little different. It's the older version of them. It's a very
apostrophe DAII.
Yeah, and well, like Ahsoka said, it's an ancient Jedi temple. It's old school, like when Luke found it on Octo. So it's old school. But it was completely abandoned. It hasn't been inhabited, so it's just an empty place. And so we don't know what to expect because it hasn't been really touched on in canon so far.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. That's why I think he's going to have like a Force vision there, or like a Force connection with somebody there.
I mean, we saw with Ezra, you're right. We saw the same thing with Ezra in Rebels. When he showed up to that temple, everything kind of started clicking for him. So it's very possible.
Could it be Obi-Wan?
No. It's possible. I mean, it is possible because Yoda was alive.
Force Ghost Obi-Wan, yeah.
Yoda was alive.
Force Ghost.
Oh, yeah.
It would have to be a Force Ghost, and at this point, the only Force Ghosts we know of are Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin. Those are the four.
Oh, but the thing is, when Ezra had that vision, Yoda was still alive, right? Yeah. So maybe it has to be somebody who's alive still. Who knows? But
maybe. I mean, who knows? It would be interesting. Well, no. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Ezra also communicated with Qui-Gon in that episode. I believe Qui-Gon was a Force Ghost in that episode as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Force Ghosts pop up and interact with live Jedi all the time, so it's very possible it's a Force Ghost as well.
Okay, I do want to get to one last thing before we head out because we are getting short on time. But this whole idea of Thrawn, and I know we talked about it slightly, but let's talk about where this series is possibly headed. Because now it almost seems like Din is being told of these multiple places to go. He now is headed to this ancient Jedi temple, and we know that Moff Gideon is tracking him. He is tracking him. He didn't show up on Corvus, which some of us expected him to. But that could possibly mean that he shows up on this world where the Jedi temple is. And then we obviously know the drop for Thrawn and Ahsoka and stuff. So 2 questions. One, what do you think is going to happen next? Like next episodes or so, how the series finishes out, what we've seen so far. If you have any idea. And 2, do we see Ahsoka at all going forward? Gio, I'll start with you.
Yeah, start because you guys are probably going to bring up something that I didn't even think about. So, next couple episodes, I think you're going to get heavy Moff Gideon. I think so. You're going to see him rally his troops and go out and find the Grogu, I guess now. Will we see Ahsoka Tano? And that was one of my more favorite parts about this episode was that, okay, Ahsoka made her grand appearance. She pretty much had the entire episode. Now the episode focuses back on Mandalorian and Grogu.
Jerry, you have no idea.
And, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
I had to stop myself from laughing when I saw that comment.
But I think we will see Ahsoka Tano back in this season. I think we'll definitely see her back. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Jacob?
I don't know. This show, it's so hard to predict this show. Like we thought we were getting one thing, we got something totally different, which is fine. It was great. So it's hard to tell. I think in a good way, this was, like we said, a setup for a spin-off series. So I don't think we're going to see Ahsoka again this season. Not to say we won't see her back on the Mandalorian show at all. That's very possible because she's very connected to the Mandalores and Bo-Katan and Sabine. So if this show's headed to like a big taking back Mandalore and rebuilding Mandalore, if that's the end goal of this show, we could see her back. But I don't think we're going to see her back this season. Look, we have, 3 episodes left?
Yeah.
So it's gonna have to be about. So Din's quest this season is to bring Grogu to a Jedi. He already did, but she said no. You have to go do this now. So he's gonna see that mission out. It's gonna end with him keeping him, and like, look, you're my kid now. However that works, or sending him off with somebody else like Ezra or whatever. And then I think we're gonna get some resolution with Moff Gideon and the Darksaber. Not like a full resolution, but we're going to get the next step in that story. Like whether it's Bo-Katan getting it back or whatnot, but they're going to have to close that out. Like you ended season 1 with the reveal of Moff Gideon having the Darksaber and him being alive still. So what is the resolution of that? I think that's what it's heading towards.
Mr. Brian.
I have no freaking clue what's going to happen.
Yeah, me neither.
At this point,
Isn't that so nice, though? Isn't that
It
just
is.
so nice?
Yeah. I kind of tend to lean to think that we're done seeing the like fancy characters that we like have been looking forward to like every episode. I mean, minus episode 2, we've gotten a new important character. I mean, we had Boba and Cobb Vanth in 1. We had Bo-Katan in 3. Ahsoka. Am I
In
missing
5,
one?
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, we've gotten
Frog
our
lady, Brian. Frog lady.
Frog lady. But so I think that we might be done with that stuff, and just kind of go back to a Mandalorian story for the rest. I do think that we'll probably see Gideon intercept Din in either the next episode or the one following. I think this is where Gideon's going to start to play his game. I'm like 80% with Gio in saying that, Samir and Gio, I think you said it too, that he's going to get kidnapped. The child's going to get kidnapped soon. Grogu. So I think Gideon's story is going to start to play out these last 3. The only thing that I question is Giancarlo Esposito earlier before the season started, him saying, like, we have epic lightsaber fights in the season or something like that. I broke 3 dark sabers in this stuff. That's the only thing that I'm kind of curious.
Be him fighting Din. Look, that's why Din got that spear, because he's gonna fight.
Exactly.
He's gonna fight Moff Gideon,
and that's exactly what I'm thinking. Is
Point.
He was given something that he can fight against a lightsaber, and from when we first heard this, we immediately went, "Oh, Ahsoka's going to fight him." Now we know that those blades cannot cut through pure I keep wanting to call
adamantium.
Pure Beskar. Did I already say adamantium earlier?
No, someone said it in the chat.
Oh, the pure Beskar. So I think that fight is going to be Din and Gideon, and I have a feeling it might be to get back the child. So that's, Grogu. God, that's
You
gonna
can still call him child. You can still call him a child.
But anyways, my point is, I think we're done seeing these characters that were like, oh my God, look, it's Ezra. Oh my God, it's Thrawn. Oh my God, it's so and so. Oh, hi Molly.
This is what I was going towards. Molly, you read my mind.
I was thinking that, honestly.
Read my mind. It's dude, 100%.
Crap, that's so much better than what I'm
100%.
saying.
She's more trained in that type of stuff than he would be, and it would make sense.
I do think we're going to see Bo-Katan this season again.
Yes,
I do.
and real quick, I'll say this: I don't, and it may just me not wanting to, but I don't think we'll see Ahsoka ever in this series again.
Neither do I.
No, nor do I
done.
want to. It might just be me coming off as like I don't want to see her in the series again, but I don't think we'll ever see her in the series again. Maybe a name drop, something like that. I do think though that there's a high possibility of seeing someone like Sabine at some point because she is Mandalorian. Yeah. If she's not with Ahsoka at this point, is she possibly trying to get back Mandalore as well? Who knows? But yeah, Brian, you're right. He was given the spear for a reason. The first thing I thought of was like, Din's not going to fight with that. He's too good with other stuff. Who really needs the weapon and who's really hunting down the Darksaber? It's not Din, it's Bo-Katan. Bo-Katan is the one hunting down the Darksaber. Din probably has heard stories about it and doesn't really even care about it at this point. And so that's just imagine a Beskar spear going up a Darksaber, Bo-Katan versus Moff Gideon. My God, it'd be so good.
We think that would be? But could that be the end of Bo-Katan though? So
don't you fucking say it, Brian? Don't
no. She's winning that fight.
Oh
no, she's gonna win. So then, who does Mandalorian fight? All the
he's gonna be fighting everybody else around
the Dark Troopers.
Yeah, he'll be fighting the Dark Troopers in whatever kind of army that Moff Gideon has, I would think, because it's gonna come down to a Moff Gideon and Moff Gideon's army fight versus Din, Bo-Katan, whoever she has with them, possibly Cobb Vanth, probably Grief Karga and Cara Dune. It's going to be like Team Mando versus Team Gideon, Civil War style in the MCU. You know what I mean?
Jesus Christ! I just IG-11, man.
How do they all get there though? That's the thing.
I
don't know,
Jake. Ever since you said it, I just need Cobb Vanth to join Clan Mudhorn.
He's being Clan Mudhorn. He's going to be Clan Mudhorn.
I need
maybe season 3. Season 3.
He's going to be Clan Mudhorn 100%.
Oh, 100%. God. And then give Grogu a little bit of armor somewhere. with the little shield, little patch.
All right. Well, any final thoughts on chapter 13, the Jedi, gentlemen? Any parting words here?
Yeah, it was great. It was definitely a bit of fan service.
Molly, you're pulling the heartstrings here. Yes.
Oh.
Ooh, what if? I like
interesting. Well, there's been theories that she's not a good person.
Well, I said that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think she's going to be the big bad. I think
she's like big bad. She's the leader of a cult, essentially.
Yeah. I think she'll be the big bad. I don't know if it'll be this season, but I think she's going to be the big bad.
I don't know if Din can beat her, to be honest, in a fight. We'll see.
It'll be interesting.
He's good with his gadgets.
Yeah, I mean, maybe at that point when he fights her, he has the Darksaber. Who knows?
Chuck, I don't think Boba's going to be back in this season.
No, that was another.
I forgot about him.
That was another a spinoff thing. I mean, Bob Iger did say they were going to do spinoffs from The Mandalorian, like multiple. So
I think if they ever did a Bubba one, it would be like an Obi-Wan situation where it's 8 episodes and it's done.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
I honestly don't think Boba Fett's going to want his armor back.
No, he would have went and gotten already.
He's going to become an Obi-Wan hermit.
It's going to be a different story. It's not going to be about his armor.
Or he's going to become a sand people. That's what he's going to become.
He's going to become a sand people.
He's going to become a sand people.
All right, fair enough. I personally think the armorer is going to be season 3's.
That's what I
Possibly.
said.
Yeah,
that's what I said.
No, but I'm saying like I don't think we're going to see her this season. Next season, she's going to be
I think
heavier.
the series, after we figure out the stuff with Gideon, I think the series is working towards Death Watch returning, essentially. A version of it. Maybe them not calling themselves Death Watch, but a version of it where they're the extremist side of the Mandalorians, and Din slowly realizes that's not the way.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to fight with Bo-Katan up against the armor and what she has, because they were so heavily involved in season 1 and then they disappear. Where are they? Who are they at this point? You know, like, and she took all that Beskar with her. She took all that Beskar with her.
She melted all those extra scraps. One last thing that I loved about this episode, the very last scene of when Din's carrying Grogu and Ahsoka nods to him.
Oh yeah,
at the very end, it was like almost kind of like thank you, and she's just like,
well, and it was you could tell it was through the Force too.
100%. But that was just like, oh, that's because it's not like he can be like, hey, tell Mando thanks. Like,
yeah, and
saving my butt.
He probably communicated to Ahsoka that he didn't want to leave Din's side. Like,
something, but it was cute. It was just like, thank you, and she's just like, no problem. So I and then her just walking away with her cape and stuff. Look at Jake just grins at even the thought of it. And
hey, we got a little dose of Ahsoka trying to train the child. All right, it was fun.
God, you were obsessed with these photos.
Look at that one. That one's awesome. That one is.
I like how she has scars on her things, or like creases.
Jacob, you're gonna have to go look at when I hear Thrawn's name.
Yes, I need to see that.
I jumped off the couch.
I'll get the timestamp for you guys and I'll send it to you. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's embarrassing.
All right, so that is our full extended review breakdown of Chapter 13, The Jedi. What an incredible episode. I know that there's definitely faults, but for this Fandalorian Club, we kind of dived into the more so the reveals that happened inside the episode, the revelations that could make huge impacts going forward in this series and other series as well. And so to all of you watching, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you guys, hit that bell icon on the channel. We go live multiple times a week here on the channel for Apocaflix Now, as well as the Fandalorian Club. The Fandalorian Club lives every Friday, 4 p.m. right here Pacific time. We break down every single episode. There's only 3 episodes left in the season, so make sure you're joining us every Friday for those. We'll also do a full season discussion afterwards as well, and we'll have Keith on there to kind of break it all down on a full episode of Now. But for now, to the entire Fandalorian Club, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. For Gio, Jacob, Brian, and myself, we are Apocaflix Movies. Make sure you guys are joining us everywhere on social media, here on YouTube, audio as well, where you guys can find all of our episodes. And again, if you guys have questions, comments, or concerns about anything Mandalorian, leave some comments. We'd love to answer them on future episodes. But for now, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Later, guys.